Hey, we're on Beach Channel Live. I'm Jason Kesser, and I get to sit here with Aaron Shapiro, stand-up comedian, who from all the stand-up comedians I talk to in Miami all swear that he's famous, and I believe them. I mean, just look at him. I'm so happy to be here with you, Aaron. I've seen you out in the wild. I haven't seen a show yet, which is kind of messed up. I'd like to, but I have seen you at comedy clubs. You're from Miami, right?
I was born in South Florida. I was born in Plantation. I lived in Miami, North Miami, and then we moved to Broward, and then my parents got divorced, and I got to live all over South Florida because they just kept running from each other.
So you're Broward. You're not like a Miami Shores kid. Like
I spent
you're from the north.
my like 10 to 17 in Broward.
In Broward.
Yep.
Where all the white people are.
Yeah, a lot more white people. A lot more.
There were like blonde women in your school.
No, well, my school was more diverse. There's a lot of Haitian in Broward. Broward is Haitian. Miami is like Cuban Spanish. Broward is like Haitian Jamaican. There's a lot of like Caribbean. Cool. But yeah, it's definitely a lot less Spanish than when I moved back to Miami.
Dude, with any authority, can you say if Haitians or Jamaicans make better oxtail? And I think I'm starting like
I would say Jamaicans make better oxtail.
Okay,
for
we
sure.
had to, otherwise we would be like murdered in our sleep.
Jamaicans make. I dated a Jamaican girl. Her mom used to make curry crab. It was unbelievable.
Oh,
like used to make my nose run. It was so spicy. But yeah, I legit thought I was and wanted to be Jamaican for like from like 14 to 17.
Yeah.
Like I was my teammates were Jamaican, like my neighbors were Jamaican, my girlfriend was Jamaican. Like I used to spend 7 years in a row in the summer in Jamaica. I used to live there for 2 months. You got to go there? I used to live there for 2 months.
Did you go with your girlfriend?
My basketball teammate, he was Jamaican, and his grandparents had houses in Jamaica. So we would train for basketball in the summer when we had nothing to do. We would live in Montego Bay for 2 months every summer. It was unbelievable.
That is
years
so
and years and years of
privileged
it.
And
Yeah.
just killer, man.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So Jamaica's like a little bit in like your blood and your experience now.
A little bit of my blood, a lot of Caribbean. I only date Latin women. I don't date white women.
Feel.
So
no,
I'm
I don't know any of them.
I am very
We're from
diverse.
Miami, so this is just part of like.
It's like the Billy Corbin because Miami hashtag.
Yeah, well, Billy Corbin's the only white girl I know.
That's right. That is true.
Is there any comedy in Jamaica, dude? Or did Jamaica inform your comedy at all?
I don't know. I've tried to mix in talking about Jamaica in my comedy, but comedy's in a weird space right now where identity politics are kind of involved. And if you are a white male on stage, and a lot of the comedy that's in Miami is ambush comedy, and I would define ambush comedy as a producer goes to a bar, they convince the bar to do a show, it's a Wednesday, patrons walk in not knowing there's going to be a comedy show, and then we ambush them and go, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, we have a comedy show tonight. So it's not like you have an active audience that's there to see comedy, you just surprise them with comedy.
But don't
so you gotta be careful with
comedy.
No, my Jamaican accent can be pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
So Rivas, Crivas, everything Irish. So it's like,
That's not bad.
Learning the patois and understanding the cool thing is I can still hear it.
Right now. I've had mine approved by like maybe 3 Jamaican students. I've been
Jamaica is
that.
like a super diverse area. You could have like Chinese Jamaicans, white Jamaicans, redhead Jamaicans. Like you'd be surprised that every time you see somebody in Jamaica, like that guy's like legit Chinese, and then you go like you hear him talk, you're like, well, that's a Rasta. That's like a
badass.
Chinese Rasta.
Yeah.
So Jamaica's cool like that. But definitely haven't mixed it in my comedy too much.
For sure, man. Well, let's get back to ambush comedy in a little bit, but just talk to me about like getting into comedy, like being from Miami and how you got started. And I'm a little bit familiar with history of comedy, mostly because I love funny people and I'm old, so I've been around for a little bit. But I spent a lot of time inside the improv and in like traditional comedy spaces, and then I watched a lot of my friends create comedy nights of their own and go outside the traditional spaces, which I kind of want to hear from you if you feel like is a really important thing to do or something they had to do, or if it's just a good alternative that's a Miami alternative rather than just performing at improvs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think...
As opposed to like bigger institutions like in New York, which would be Comedy Cellar or Comedy Store in LA, and the Ice... There's a million places in LA, but...
Yep. I think that Miami's definitely unique. I got into comedy when I stopped playing college basketball, a friend of mine, Joseph Vesey, he moved back to New York and he went to Brooklyn Film College and he started doing stand-up. And I had like always kind of wanted to do it, but I had to play sports. I'm 6'6", so they kind of like, they were like, I was like, I love theater, and they're like, you need to love dunking. And then
your family would have divorced you.
It was tough, but I stopped, and then I started doing stand-up in
You
Boca.
loved sports though. It wasn't just pressure from your size, right? But also pressure from your size.
I liked playing sports, but I was never like an avid sports fan.
For sure.
Like, but I liked playing the sport, but I was never like paying attention to stats or caring about teams or organizations or like being proud of something. I never did that. So.
Although comedy can be competitive and it can also be kind of a team sport, like you guys got to look after each other too.
No, most comics don't look after each other.
I know they don't. I'm trying to pretend that they do so that maybe one day they start doing that.
It is competitive. It is competitive. All entertainment is competitive, which I think is the reason why I went from playing like college sports to entertainment. I knew I couldn't have a regular job. I was fired from Publix for sleeping in my car instead of getting shopping carts, and I used to hide in the bathroom when I was like 15. I lasted 2 weeks.
Dude, they let you go.
They let me go.
They don't know what
they didn't know what I could have stocked at the top of that shelf. I would have had that whole row.
No.
Perfect.
Master of paper.
Bottom would have looked
plastic.
like shit, but the top would have been perfect. No, but Miami comedy is different. I started doing comedy up in Boca at the Funky Buddha. When it was on.
So starting up a little further north, do you think that was a little bit easier?
No.
Than doing it in like rough and tumble here?
No. There's no scene down here. There's no.
For sure. Improv back in the day did have like you could
Coconut
go
Grove.
like yeah. And you could go like
not
break
the improv,
your.
Not the improv now. It's in like a shopping center.
I think
not the Doral Improv.
I didn't want to ask. I didn't want to say anything about any improv establishment trying to be an improv. We appreciate you and what you're trying to do, but yeah, it feels a little bit far away right now.
It's really far. It's sad that the only comedy club in Miami is in Doral, which has been a shame. And I've tried several times to find investors, and I've gotten close with leasing my own space and putting up like $100,000 of my own money and trying to open a space. But every time I think about putting up my own money, I go, this is not a good idea.
Sure.
Because I'm going to become a comedy club owner and not the entertainer.
Yeah.
And so I've always
That would be
stopped.
terrible.
But I've tried.
Then you would be one of those ambush producers.
There should be a comedy club in Coconut Grove. There should be a comedy club in downtown Miami. There should be a comedy club in Wynwood.
Let's just get the people that pulled out of crypto on time to pay for it.
Yes.
You don't have to pay for this.
It's not that much.
No.
It's not that much, but understand you're going to lose money. No comedy club really makes money.
So where do you feel like, so you started in Boca. When did you really feel like you started to get a grasp on it? And we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but I know that you teach comedy classes, which I think is excellent. And we're going to get into the philosophy of just like a person's first 5 minutes, because I think that really defines like where you end up going. You know what I mean? Some people develop a really solid 5 minutes and they get stuck in it. Other people try something brand new and either like, crash against the rocks or do amazing. But it really decides like the men for the boys, like those first five, the open mics and stuff. What was your experience with that?
The first 5 minutes, my 5 minutes has always changed. I think that comedy is a weird space where there's no rules that are really there. It's a matter of audience, and if you can sell tickets and if people like what you say, you win. And you can try to have the most polished 5 minutes you've ever written in your life. You ever seen the SpongeBob episode where he goes up and he mops the floor and everyone cheers, and then Squidward comes out and he plays the clarinet and everyone boos, and the SpongeBob comes out and mops again and everyone goes crazy? That episode explains comedy, because you could try to write the best 5 minutes ever and somebody can go up there and just talk about farting and just crush. And you're like, this sucks. Like, I tried so hard. So comedy is definitely in the appetite of the audience, and you're kind of bound by that.
Do you feel like some of your material in that vein, do you feel like some of it was like really Miami sourced? And if you could tell me about like taking that out of the city too, but like.
if you do comedy in Miami, especially as a white person like myself, like I have to do a lot of gringo comedy, like a lot of like, this is what it's like when you meet Spanish people. This is what it's like when you're in a Spanish household. This is what it's like to date Latin women.
This is
the
like
problem
what
is it
it's
doesn't
like
transfer.
when your first girlfriend's dad gives you the nickname Sinvergüenza and you think it's just a really cute name that you
What
got.
does influenza mean?
It means shameless, like that's the nicest definition.
Yeah, he really liked you.
Sinvergüenza is here. Look, I was like, oh, I got a name.
Yeah,
like,
he obviously wanted that to work out.
No, he totally did. He was deeply invested in the relationship.
Sabotaging you in
It
another
lasted,
language.
bro, like 3 years, okay?
That's a good time.
She still remembers me.
That's a long Miami 3 years.
That was that was middle school girlfriend.
But I do think that comedy in Miami, you definitely have to pander to a Spanish crowd. There have been so many nights where I've done comedy and no one laughs, and I go, "Habla inglés?" and everyone goes, "No."
No. You're like, oh.
And you're like, well, obviously these jokes aren't going to work.
Did you discover that like halfway through the set?
Oh, yeah. Like if you notice like no one's laughing and you're at an ambush bar and you look around and you're like, no one speaks English. And if they do, they don't have enough English to have the nuance to understand a cultural ism.
Bro, you got to switch gears.
So Spanish comedy is hard, but estoy aprendiendo español porque mi trabajo es hablar, so I need to speak Spanish.
Habla perfectamente, mira.
Gracias.
Dos gringos con mucho sabor.
Ah.
We're here to survive, man.
That's it.
This is what.
But it
So
has.
do we make sense outside of Miami?
Miami
Like, we're
jokes
both
don't
funny
transfer
white
outside of
guys.
Miami. Like I would say Mario Ramil. Mario Ramil, if you know him, he's a great Miami comic. I don't know if his stuff would transfer to Oklahoma.
Sure,
I don't know how you're going to talk about Que Balacere in Oklahoma. No one's going to understand that. I don't know how you're going to do your impression of a Cuban grandpa in Texas. You know, maybe.
It's hard.
But it's Mexican.
Difficult. It's hard.
No.
No, it's very hard.
Freddie Stebbins, same
Dude,
thing.
Okay, so Freddie Stebbins is a friend of both of ours. I think he's a good example of a comedian that took taking the venue outside of the traditional institutions and like collecting and bringing your comedian friends and then also people who are trying to get a start and taking it out to venues, right? Like
He
he's
tried
really
with
good.
Taurus, but he really wasn't a producer. Freddie's not a producer. Freddie is a
Taurus
comic.
isn't my favorite example.
Freddie is a comic, but I'm a producer. Like if you see in the photo, like that's a stunt lifestyle.
Dude, let's take a look at this. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So I realized back when I started doing comedy in Miami in 2018 that I had to produce my own shows, and I don't wait for the improv. The person there, his name is Stunt Lifestyle. He started a podcast called We in Miami, where he gets like rappers and strippers and escorts on his podcast to talk about very inflammatory things.
Sure.
Like, you know,
Let's put a link to it down. Anyway.
It's very hot. Like, you know, he's like, oh, so Trina, what's the beef between you and, you know, it's like very like TMZ for Miami. Like, in Miami. That's what he always says. So we're at Mode right there for Valentine's Day, and he asked me to MC with him, and that's DJ Kira. She DJs for Rolling Loud.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, and so he did this event at Maze and Brickell. And
would you say that that's mixing music and comedy?
Oh, I definitely mix music and comedy. Yeah, I can't make money on stand-up alone.
No.
Because
are there things that you feel like really do mix well with comedy and ones that don't? Like, for instance, I think things that would be particular in Miami is like mixing with like burlesque or a drag show. Like, I've seen that work.
Yeah, there's comedy with burlesque. You could have the faena, but like in this photo, this is a mix of music and comedy. So like I'm the MC or the in-stadium host for Karate Combat.
Which is taking place in Mexico.
Which took place. I did a show last month in Mexico City, and then yesterday I just flew back from Cancun. I was in Playa del Carmen, and that's Aliman, who's a rapper out of Mexico. And so when I'm emceeing these events, you know, I am still a comedian, but I'm emceeing, and what I've kind of trademarked my style as is jousting, which is I'm joking and hosting.
That's beautiful.
So it's not like pure stand-up where it's like joke, set up, joke.
Sure,
it's like more announcements, getting the crowd into it, but also you have to mix it with music because.
Can we coin that phrase as yours and permission to use it? Yeah,
I'd love you.
I think it's linguistically extremely functional, and I think there's a need for that word.
So
sorry, man. So are we still in Mexico here?
This here is the city of Dania Beach. So I do a lot of the cities as an event producer. So I realized early on that I can't survive unless I get money. So I had to learn.
We got to pay you artists?
I had to learn quickly to be a business person. So I do a lot of events for the city.
You're not still using your like pandemic stimulus check? Like
no, that was not enough for me. I get a lot more money than that. That was like pennies.
For sure.
Couldn't even buy me a PlayStation with that pandemic check.
No, I still don't have one.
But this is for the city of Dania. And this is, again, mixing music, comedy, and hosting. So they have a band. I hired that MC to co-MC with me that night because I had to run to the Hard Rock and do a show at the Hard Rock. That morning, I had the city of Parkland that I had to MC and produce the show and hire another MC that night, Lonnie Cox, another comedian. That's Alexander Patai, who is another MC who I hired to co-MC because I had to leave that event halfway through to go to the Hard Rock to do something for Harvey Milk Foundation.
Very
if you
cool,
know Harvey
man.
Milk, the politician for LGBTQI rights.
Also known as Sean Penn.
So I had to do that because I'm the celebrity entertainment host for the Hard Rock.
Very
so
cool,
I travel the country with the Hard Rock, and I do all the Hard Rock events. So this is me mixing music, comedy, and hosting. I helped them produce the show. I hired the DJ. I hired the MCs. I helped them tell what the band is going to do. I wrote the script. I come up with games. I invent things.
I thought you were supposed to perform. Like, you do all of this. That's...
I don't want to be poor, Jason.
Yeah.
And so to not, if you
just
do comedy in bars, you're going to work at TJ Maxx and you're going to do comedy at night. I'm a full-time entertainer.
And on that note, and especially because you are a professor and you do have a comedy class, so you do. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about like starting out. So we can talk to comedians, but comedians, I think more than anybody, have a special skill for emceeing. I don't think there's better
not
MCs
all
in the
comedians.
world. No, not at all.
No,
not all comedians are MCs.
If you're talking about
not all comedians are MCs, but the best MCs are comedians. The best
MCs
in my humble opinion.
I agree. The best MCs are comedians.
I think
agree.
they are.
But not all comedians can be MCs.
Sure. And as we're talking about this, if you could just tell me, like, as far as jousting goes, just to finish that topic, like, what is that balance between like joke telling and then just getting the crowd's energy up? Because you're doing massive audiences.
Usually a couple thousand. This was, again, another example of jousting where it was hard because this is for the Pace Center of Broward, which was about 2 weeks ago. And the Pace Center for Broward is an organization that helps girls with empowering them on education, with social services. And a lot of these girls are abused at home. They're orphaned. They're in foster care programs. They do not have an easy life. And so they have to raise money to continue these programs because they're usually privately funded. They get a little bit from the government, but they need the private funds to make sure these girls can continue to have a chance to get to college and have a chance at a better life than the cards they originally dealt. So to make jokes when the girls have been domestically abused or are in foster care programs or orphans, it is not easy. So a lot of it is kind of addressing the room, which is like addressing like why we're all here, addressing like the purpose of the night, during the night. So there was a QR code on the table, and so I have a very simple joke where I'm like, if you don't know what a QR code is, turn to a person younger than you and say, what is it? What do I do with this? And while you're there, ask them to set up your Outlook. Like little corporate clean jokes that make like people laugh at the nuance of ageism or not understanding technology. Those are simple, easy, like types of tropes that you could touch into that make people laugh. When you're in a sensitive situation
and
where
some
you're
of the best
dealing
comedians
with girls.
struggle in situations like that, like clean corporate events, and you're just nailing it because that's the MC in you. I'm sorry, the MC in you tells you how to handle it. We're back in Mexico real quick.
In Mexico.
So tell me about that.
So Mexico was great. And the cool part is I've really been trying very hard to be better at Spanish. So in these moments, this is in Mexico. The people speak Spanish. I speak a little bit of Spanish. So a lot of it is like, manos arriba, uno bulla mi gente, esta noche muy especial porque esta noche es Karate Combat 44. So it's just like, it's emceeing not only in English, but in Spanish.
You Spanglished it.
And Spanglish it.
Does your Miami show when you're doing that?
Miami
Estamos
definitely.
aquí. Estamos aquí. Like you're trying to switch it immediately to Mexican.
Yeah, they definitely have the more high-pitched, like Speedy Gonzalez voice. But Mexico City was great, man. It was really cool. And this organization, Karate Combat, is growing and growing. But my eyes were swollen. Like the moment I landed, I got like really bad allergies. They were like, yeah, Mexico has bad air.
See, but that's like, white people stuff right there.
I was blowing my nose. I went to like 90 tissues that night, like in between. Like I was like, snot was flying out of my nose. It's, you know.
I do have to ask because snooping around on your Instagram, I did find you tell a story which I think led to Mexico, and you were saying how people should always just talk to anybody, talk to strangers, and that might have led to this. Did that happen? Did I get that right?
That did happen. It wasn't that I got that job. I got the karate combat job through Steve, who owned Clutch Burger and Coral Gables.
Sounds delicious.
I was doing a free comedy show it cost me money to do the show. I had to pay $10 for parking. I had to spend 3 hours there, and I did the show for free because I needed a space to do a show on Wednesday to practice my material. And through that, I met the owner, Rob Bryan.
So he will work for free when pressed.
I will work for free.
If it's worth it.
If it's worth it.
Yeah.
And then doing that for free led me to that. So the reason why I teach the comedy class, to go back to it, is because most people who take a comedy class are never going to do comedy, ever. It's just a way for them to open up their public speaking skills, their sociability skills. Most people are in their phones and they don't look up and talk to people.
Absolutely.
So while I'm at the airport flying to the Dominican Republic for karate combat, there was a cute girl who was sitting next to me. So of course the cuteness made me open up and talk to her.
For sure.
So I start talking to her and she ends up doing like influencer stuff in Mexico.
You talk to cute girls randomly because my girlfriend's in Playa del Carmen right now, so you kind of scared me. Like, I'm
Is she? Is she really?
She is right now.
I won't just talk to cute girls. I'll talk to cute guys. I'll talk to anybody.
Anybody.
I'm just saying the cuteness
Yeah.
definitely helped
Absolutely.
being like, she was happened to be sitting next to me.
For sure.
And so
I'm asking my girlfriend when she gets back.
we start talking and she tells me she's an influencer and does like video stuff where she reviews products for Amazon in Mexico. I think nothing of it. We keep in contact. Then she sees that I'm going to Mexico, and I remember, I met that girl who's in Mexico. So I contacted her. I was like, hey, do you know anybody who would be a videographer for me to follow me around at the show? Which connected me to Sebastian, this guy who's a videographer in Mexico. He speaks very little English, and I end up meeting him through her. We go around, we take pictures in Mexico. He takes that photo of me with a sombrero. He makes like the highlight video for me.
Yeah.
All because I
Yeah.
talked to a stranger in an airport, which led me to meeting another stranger. Because in life, most people, 99% of people are kind. 99% of people care. And when people like are fear mongering and being afraid of people, and the world is so violent and the world is so evil, I have not met many people who have been held up by gunpoint in a grocery store. I've never met any people who have been stabbed while walking their dog. Like, most people are kind. They'll open a door for you. They'll help you up. Sure, people could be assholes, but that's good.
And most of that fear and fear-mongering comes from people that have about people that they've never met.
Yes.
You know, and like this stuff that you're talking about is like the crowd work of life, not to be corny.
The crowd
but,
work of life.
It really is.
That's a good name for a special.
Yeah. Take it.
The crowd work of life.
Yes.
But
I gotta
yes.
make money, Aaron. You gotta help me.
That's right.
That's
right.
You're a producer.
I'm taking you on
for
the
sure.
road.
It, like, you know, it's happened to me a million times. But I started talking to a guy who was he was tribe, he was Seminole, and we just happened to be flying to Hawaii. But we stopped in Houston. I said what's up to him, and we were gonna land in Las Vegas, and he was like, "Yo, I'll see you in Las Vegas. We got an hour there. Let's take advantage of it." So we went, sat down at a bar, had the greatest conversation ever. When we got back to the gate, our flight was gone. So we missed it. I'm on my way to a wedding. He's going to a tribal I can't say his name because I'm protecting people's privacy, but you're the man, bro. You remember me. And he took me out and showed me the ropes in Vegas, which there's no better way to ever see a gambling town than, I'm sorry, with a Seminole tribe member. And now I know how to roulette. And we made the next flight that we could get and made it to both our things in
And
Hawaii,
it all
bro.
came from just starting a conversation.
Speaking of Seminoles, do you know tell me about the Hard Rock, and if there's anything, if people are watching this, if they make the trip up there, is there anything you would want them to see?
Yeah, the Hard Rock is definitely the best entertainment venue in all of South Florida, for sure. That event that's on the photo right there,
Let's
this
talk
is a
about this.
very significant night. So this is Max Osceola Jr., who passed away in 2021 or 2020 due to health complications, I believe, with COVID. And so this night they were honoring him and his legacy. And Max Osceola Jr. is the reason why the Seminole tribe was able to purchase the Hard Rock brand. So the Hard Rock was going out of business and they were failing. And they were going, and many investors, 72 people were trying to bid on getting the Hard Rock name, the Marriott, Hilton. All these hotels wanted the Hard Rock brand. And Jim Allen, who is the current CEO and chairman for the Seminole Tribe and Seminole Gaming, him and Max Osceola Jr. Max Osceola Jr., he had these catchphrases like, if you invest in people, they invest in you. The three most important things in life are family, food, and sports. He was just like this kind individual who took a risk, and they were able to purchase the Hard Rock brand for the Seminole Tribe, turning the Seminole Tribe into the most successful Native American tribe in the entire world.
Sure.
Right? Owning the Hard Rocks.
Yeah.
So that night I was hired to
I think
MC.
it went from I think it was purchased for $1 billion, and I think by the end of the year it was probably worth about $4 billion.
Correct.
My Seminole friends, if I'm off on those facts,
no, you are very close.
Yeah,
to
and
that.
the success of the tribes, our local tribes, I think if you're from Miami is really important to us. You might be more familiar with the Seminoles being from up north, whatever, Miccosukes and Seminoles. And so when that happened, I think all of us just celebrated in like a really deep personal way.
Yeah.
And you get to go there and MC and like create just amazing live energy there.
Yep.
What are some of the things that you do there? Like, are there regular events? Like on your Insta, I'm seeing you like just, I don't know.
Usually
Master
a lot of
ceremonies, the place.
Usually a lot of private events, some public events, but usually a lot of private events, and usually it's a lot of charities, a lot of galas, and like coming up, I have to do Derek Jeter's event, Formula One. I got to do a pool party for Formula One.
I'm so sorry you have to do that. I can come help you with it. I'll make it
you
easier.
Can come.
Yeah.
But a lot of these events are private events, are not open to the public. But this one was for Max Osceola Jr., who, is the reason why the Hard Rock is the Hard Rock the way it is today.
Very cool, man. I'm so glad to have heard that story.
Yeah.
Dude, you're famous enough and in demand enough that they're going to keep you being an MC. We got to wrap it up pretty soon. I want you back on stage as often as possible.
Yeah.
Are there any, just for people that are watching this, are there any venues that pop up in mind or any way to follow comedy where they should be showing up?
Yeah, definitely Miami Comedy is done by Manny Garavito, and he produces the most shows in Miami. I was competing with him. We try to work together. I was competing with him back in 2019, 2018. I was producing like 5-6 shows a week. I try to bring the comedy community together. Didn't work out. Not everyone wants to work together. So I do a lot of other people's shows now, not so much of producing my own because I'm so blessed to be booked and all over the place.
For sure.
But
and
Miami Comedy
would you encourage like whatever Miami comedians to just continue to try to create venues in strange places and just put comedy anywhere they can?
Yeah, you have to. If you're a Miami comedian, keep doing it. Before I came along, it was only Manny. I came along, me and Manny tried to work out. It didn't work out. Our ideologies didn't kind of match up at the time. It wasn't good timing in the universe. I started to produce shows. I started to gather comedians, and I showed them how to produce shows. And now, from me, now there are other comedians producing shows in weird places because of my lead of showing them that it is possible and how to do it.
Aaron, the speaker, that should be part of your class, bro. Not just telling people how to speak, but also how to organize and create comedy opportunities.
So comedians, make more shows. We need at least 10 shows a night in Miami. It is very easy. It is very possible. Buy a $300 speaker, buy a $100 microphone, and a $25 cable, and you can make a comedy show happen at any bar, any venue. We need 10 shows a week. Imagine there are 50 comedians in Miami and only one show a night.
Sure.
How can you get better? You can't have 50 people on one show a night.
No.
10 shows a night.
Yep.
You could do it. Stop being lazy.
And if you want to keep this conversation going, you should go to Coconut Comedy School. Did I get it right?
No, you get Coconut Comedy class was a class that I started, but just go to Aaron the Speaker.
Yeah, man.
Everything. Aaron the Speaker website. I got it all. Every time a new platform comes out, I create it.
Follow this guy. You'll either learn something or you end up in an amazing space.
That's
dude.
right.
Great talking to you. I'm
Thank
so
you,
happy.
Jason.
Man.
I appreciate it.
Dude,
I love it.
Can't wait to see you out. Guys, this has been Beach Channel Live. We're covering comedy with Aaron Shapiro. Aaron the Speaker. Check him out. We had a great time. We'll see you next time.